Okay, class, picking up where we left off at, there's a part two to lesson one, and this part is called proportion. A proportion is an equation that shows that two ratios are equal. The cross products and the true proportion are equal. In other words, when you multiply diagonally across the equal sign, the products are equal. The directions on the can of powdered drink mix say to add 3 cups of water to every 2 scoops of drink mix. Matt, Matt adds 12 cups of water to 8 scoops of drink mix. Did he make the drink correctly? So basically, it starts off with write a proportion, making sure the terms of the ratio are in the same order. So it's 3 cups to 2 scoops, and then it'll be 12 cups to 8 scoops. So we make sure that these are in the same order. Then we cross multiply. We do top times bottom, and that gives us 24. Then we do bottom times top, and that gives us 24. So cross multiply and compare the products. Since the products are the same, the ratios are equal. Matt made the drink correctly. In most proportion problems, you are asked to solve for a missing term. A map scale says that 2 inches is equal to 150 miles. What actual distance would a map distance of 5 inches represent? So what we would do is we would have inches and inches. It's 2 inches and 5 inches. Then we would have miles to miles. We have 150 for 2 inches, but we don't know how many it is for 5 inches. So that's why we have X. Now we would do our cross multiplication. I don't like how they set this up, so I'm going to show you what you should do here. And it looks similar to what we did earlier. So we would have, this is example, what's that example? Well, I guess this would be example 5 actually. Example 5. Again, we have 2 over 150 is equal to 5 over x. We have inches, we have miles. So we cross multiply. 2 times x is equal to 150 times 5. So we add 2 times x and 150 times 5. 2 times x is 2x, and 150 times 5, we can go off to the side and say 150 times 5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25. Bring down your 5, carry your 2. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. So this is 750. Now, when you're doing a proportion, what you're supposed to do next is this here. You have to get this x by itself. And since this is multiply, you'll just divide each side by the number connected to x, which happens to be 2. So we will have x is equal to 750 divided by 2. We'll go off to the side and take 2 into 750. 2 goes into 7 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring down our 5. 2 goes into 15 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. 15 minus 14 is 1. Bring down your 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 5 times 2 is 10 with no remainder. So x is 375. So that is the missing value, which is 375. Okay, now it says here, some proportions, well, let me circle this here. It says some proportion problems ask you to find a rate. A rate compares a quantity to 1. When a rate is written in fraction form, its denominator is always 1. In word form, rates are often expressed using the word per. Okay, now, before I go to example 6, we need to put the units here as well. So this is 375 miles, not just 375. Now, we move on to example 6. It says Connie drove 276 miles on 12 gallons of gasoline. How many miles per gallon did she get on the trip? So we have, so this is example 6. We have her driving 276 miles on 26 gallons. Or was it 12? Oh, I'm sorry, it's 12. 276 divided by 12. I don't know where I got 16 from. And it's equal to Now, we want to put gallons at the bottom because it was 12 gallons, and that per gallon is 1. Then X will be how many miles driven because we don't know how many miles is driven on 1 gallon of gas. So we do our cross multiplication. We add 276 times 1 and 12 times X. So 276 times 1 is 276, and 12 times X is 12X. Now we would divide each side by 12. Now 12 goes into 276. 12 goes into 27 twice. 27 minus 24 is 3. Bring down our 6. 12 goes into 36 3 times. 36 minus 36 is 0. So it's 23 is equal to X. Now we got to ask ourselves, what is the 23? The 23 is 23 miles. Is equal to X. So it's 23 miles for 1 gallon. Okay, so now, we go on to example 7. It says find the value of X in a proportion. Okay, so now they're telling you how to do this on your calculator. And what we would do with your calculator, I'll show you this in a problem, in the next problem when we get to it. So now we have these 22 problems to complete. I don't know if we're going to go through the whole 22, but we're going to give it a good try. It says solve for the missing term in each proportion problem. You may use your calculator for questions 9 through 16. Note, answers will not always be whole numbers. Okay, so with that being said, let's start off with problem number 1. Problem number 1, we had 2/3 is equal to X over 18. Now we do our cross multiplication. Now remember, in order to do cross multiplication, it must be one fraction equal to one fraction. It can't have anything else over here. So we had 2 times 18 is equal to 3 times X. 2 times 18 is 36. It's equal to 3 times X, which is 3X. We divide each side by 3. 36 divided by 3 is 12. Is equal to X. So it's 12 equal to X. Okay, now, the next problem, I want to try number 3. Number 3, we have 6/5 equals 3 over X. Cross multiply 6 times X is equal to 5 times 3. 6 times X is 6X, and 5 times 3 is 15. We divide each side by 6. And then X is equal to, now 15 over 6, we can simplify that. We could divide both by, 3? And then we would have 5 halves. Now, since this is a regular fraction, we would change this to a mixed number, so it's an improper fraction. So we'll do 2 goes into 5, 2 goes into 5 twice. So we have 5 minus 4 is 1 with the remainder of 1. So our final answer would be 2.5. That's number 3. Now, the next number, all the rest of it is just basically the same. But let me do number 8. So number 8, we'll take 0.5 over 12 is equal to 3 over X. We cross multiply 0.5 times X is equal to 12 times 3. 0.5 X is equal to 36. Now we would divide each side by 0.5. And X is equal to, now we can make this into a regular division problem. We'll take 0.5 into 36. We got to move this decimal one place. It's a decimal behind the 36. We move that decimal. So we have 5 into 360. Now, if we need to add a decimal, we will. If not, we'll be fine. 5 doesn't go into 3, but 5 goes into 36 7 times. 7 times 5 is 35. 36 minus 35 is 1. Bring down your 0. 5 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 5 is 10. No remainder. So your answer here would be 72. All right. So now we're told that we can use a calculator for 9 through 16. So let me pull up my calculator. Okay, I have my calculator pulled up. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a little pattern here with these basic proportions that we've been doing. Let's look back at problem number 1. Okay, when you look back at problem number 1, let me move this over here. I'm going to slide this down a little bit. Now with problem number 1, you notice that we have 2/3 is equal to x over 18. If you notice, we multiply these two values, but we end up dividing by this value here. We multiply these two, divide by the other number. Watch this. Look at number 3. When we multiply the two numbers together, so we got 6 and x, 6x. We got 5 and 3. We know that gave us 15. We ended up dividing by the number that's connected to the x. You go down here. The number that's connected to the x is 0.5. So we'll multiply the 12 and 3, gave us 36, divided by the number connected to x. Now we're going to take that same knowledge and we're going to apply it here. Let's look at number 11. Now we have 12 over 5, 3 over x. So we know we're going to multiply 12 and x. Matter of fact, let me see if I could do, yeah, that's good. All right. So I said problem number 11. So we have 12 over 5 is equal to 3 over x. Now, we add 12 times x and then 5 times 3. So it'd be 12x is equal to 15. Now, what I told you in this calculator is what you could do your, when you multiply your two numbers here, which would be 15, you'll divide it by the number connected to x, which is 12. And that would give you 1.25. But I think based upon what we did before, we had got a mixed number. So we would change this so it would give us a mixed number. So we'll press second, this 10 button and enter. So it'll be 1 1/4. So x is 1 1/4. Okay, so now we're going to try problem number 12 using the same principle. We know 4 is going to be with x, but now we would take this 60 times 2.5. Now that gives us 150. Now we have to divide that by 4 because we're going to divide off the number that's going to be on x, and that's 37.5. Now again, we want to write that as a mixed number, so we'll put second, this x10 to the end, it'll be 37 and a half. So that'll be number 12. Number 12 is 37 and a half. Now, we're going to move on to a different problem. Let me pick out a harder one. Let me pick out 14. Now, 14 comes up a little blurry, but I'm going to write it down on my sheet of paper here. So for those of you that don't have your book readily available, I'll write this down here. So 14 is 9 over $80.10. And that's equal to x all over $284.80. Okay, so that is what you should have in your book. Now we still do this the exact same way that we did the other problem. We'll multiply the two numbers here, which is 9 times 284.80. And it gives us this 2,563.2. And we'll divide off the number that will be connected to X. So it'll be divided by $80.10. And that gives you 32. So your answer here would just be X equals 32. Because it's not a fraction or anything like that. So I believe this should cover everything that you need to know as far as using this in your calculator. So now we're going to move on. Now we come here to problem 17 to 22. It says choose the one best answer to each question. You may use your calculator for questions 20 through 22. So from 17 to 19, we have to do this by hand. So looking at problem 17, it says the store is advertising the following sale. Tomato soup is 4 cans for 98 cents. To the nearest cent, how much would 5 cans of tomato soup cost? So let's set this up. 4 cans, all over 98 cents. Okay, 4 cans for 98 cents. Now we're told that we're given 5 cans. So cans go with cans. And we want to find the cost, which would be X. Now we cross multiply. 4 times X is equal to 0.98 times 5. So we will have 4X is equal to, we could take 0.98 times 5. 5 times 8 is 40, 0 carry a 4. 5 times 9 is 45, plus 4 is 49. And then we had 2 digits behind the decimal, so it's 4.90. So this is 4.90. Then we divide each side by 4. And X is equal to, we can go to the side and say 4 into 4.90. Now remember, we're rounding to the nearest cent, so we may have to go 3 decimal places to see if we round up or keep it the same. So we bring our decimal up. 4 goes into 4 once. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. And then we'll bring down our 9. 4 goes into 9 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. So that's 1. We'll bring down our 0. 4 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. We bring down our other 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. So no remainder. Now, we have 1.225. So we know we'll round this up to 1.23 because the thousands place directly next to the hundreds place is 5 to 9. So this would be $1.23. And that would be B. Now, number 18. The Bay City Cardinals have won 5 out of 8 games. At the same rate, how many games will they have to play to win 60 games? So they said they won 5. This is 18. They won 5 out of 8 games. Now they want to know how many games they will have to play in order to win 60 games. So we'll put 1 games to 1 games because we want it to be 61 games over total amount of games. So we cross multiply. 5 times X is equal to 8 times 60. So it'd be 5X is equal to 480. We divide each side by 5. And X is equal to, now we would take 5 into 480. 5 goes into 48 9 times. 9 times 5 is 45. 48 minus 45 is 3. Bring down our 0. 5 goes into 30 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. We have no remainder, so it'll be 96 games that will have to be played. Okay, now, 19. Carla drove her truck 414 miles on 18 gallons of gasoline. How many miles did she drive per gallon? Okay. So we want to know how many miles she drove per gallon. So she did 414 miles divided by 18 gallons. So now we simplify. We could take 18 into 414. Now we could simplify this to lower terms, but let's see what happens here. 18 goes into 41 twice. 2 times 18 is 36. 41 minus 36 is 5. Bring down our 4. 18 goes into 54 3 times. 3 times 18 is 54, and we have no remainder. So our final answer here would be would actually be 23, which is B. Now up here I didn't put down that this was actually C for number 18. So 23 is for B, 23 is B for 19, 96 was C for 18. Okay, now these other problems, we have the calculator we could use. If I could pull this calculator back up. Okay. Now, let's take a look here. For 20, it says the scale on a map reads 2 centimeters is equal to 150 kilometers. How many kilometers would be represented by a distance of 4.6 centimeters? Okay, so now I'm gonna have to move this over here. Trying to find a good spot here. Okay, so maybe I could get it here. So we had 2 centimeters. Wait a minute. 2 centimeters all over 150 kilometers. Okay. Now that's equal to. Now we have 4.6 centimeters over an unknown value x. So now we cross multiply. We had 2 times x is equal to 150 times 4.6. So it'd be 2x is equal to, now we would take the 150 times 4.6, and that gives us 690. Now we could divide each side by 2. So we could divide this by 2, and that would give us 345. So it'd be 345, which is B. Now again, when we did this before with the calculator, I told you once you multiply this and got the number, when you multiply the two numbers and got their result, you would just divide it by the number that would be connected to x, which we did. So it's x equals 345, and your answer is B. Now we go to problem 21. 2 ingredients in a recipe are 2.5 cups of flour and 1.5 cups of sugar. If June keeps the proportion the same, how many cups of flour should she add to 4 cups of sugar? So 2.5 cups is flour. So we'll do 2.5 cups. We know that's flour. All over 1.5 cup, which is sugar. So flour is at the top, sugar is at the bottom. Now they tell us, they give us that we have 4 cups of sugar. So 4 would be at the bottom here. And then X would be at the top. So we're looking for the flour. So we multiply. We add 2.5 times 4 is equal to 1.5 times X. Okay, now what we could do, we can multiply this out. So we'll press second n over d. So that'll give us 2, hit the arrow, 1, hit the arrow, 2. 2.5, arrow times 4. That gives us 10. So this is 10 is equal to 1.5 x. I'll just leave it as 1.5 x since we can use a calculator. Now we would take this 10 and divide it by the mixed number. So we'll say second un over d. So it'd be 1, move the arrow, 1 all over 2, and press enter. So that gave us 20 over 3. Now, if you notice, our answer is either whole numbers or mixed numbers. So we have to make this a mixed number. So we'll press second x10 to the n, press enter. So it's 6 2/3, which is a. So it'll be 6 2/3 is equal to x, and that would be a. Okay, the last problem here, it says Claudia drove 155 miles in 2.5 hours. Which of the following expressions could be used to find how many miles she can drive in 7 hours? So we have 155 divided by 2.5. 155 divided by 2.5. So that's 155 miles in 2.5 hours. So we have miles over hours. So we're trying to find out how much she could drive in 7 hours. So we're trying to find the miles. So we do cross multiplication. 155 times 7 is equal to 2.5 times x. So we have 155 times 7. That gives us 1,085 is equal to 2.5x. Now we'll divide each side by 2.5. So we'll take 1,085 divided by 2.5. That gives us 434. But what I'm noticing here is they did not, okay, they did ask us how many miles did she drive, but they didn't want our final answer of 434. They wanted more so the setup. Now, if you look here, we did 155 times 7. So basically, this is the only one that had 155 times 7 divided by 2.5. So this will give us A. That's what they wanted, A. All right, so we are done with part 2. So this completes chapter 3, lesson 1. I'll put this on YouTube and have a wonderful day.